Today we're going to be diving into a little bit more around Web3 technology and some of the trends around not only onboarding, but where Web3 gaming is going to go. I think you guys are going to like it. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into Tech Path. This is a good one today. We're going to be breaking down a few things on not only Web3 gaming, the front of where Web3 gaming is going, but also how, consumers in general, how Web3 or how web gamers in general are going to be adopting into Web3. I do want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Myria. If you guys are looking at redefining the future of gaming, this is one of the places to do it. And Myria is one of those platforms that really goes into an evolution of building within a game ecosystem. So make sure and visit Myria.com. You guys can learn a little bit more over there. We'll have them on the show here in a minute to kind of chat about some of the trends that are happening. I also want to break into some of the trends around where not only crypto is going, but also where Web3 adoption is going. If you look at some of the key findings this year, 40% now of American adults own crypto, up 30% from 2023. 63% hope to obtain more cryptocurrency. And you can kind of see here, 21% of non-owners said the anticipated Bitcoin ETFs, which have happened, now would put them into a more likely investment. What this simply frames as is the potential for people getting into Web3, which opens up an opportunity in gaming going forward. And of course, here's Forbes talking about gaming is growing and Web3 is coming with it. And we've seen this at several conferences where we've started to see a lot more game developers, a lot more technology rolling into the space. One of the key things, though, that has been in the space has been the concern around onboarding. And onboarding is a matter of just people getting into a game, staying in a game, and going that direction. 90% of users now drop off during the wallet creation. That's a big challenge, but we are seeing some shifts going into that. So we want to kind of break down all of this today with a guest. And this, of course, is Mr. Andrew Silber, who is the co-founder and CTO coming in from Myria. Great to have you back, Andrew.
Thanks, Paul. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so Andrew, let's get into a couple of topics here. I want to talk about first, when you look at the Web3 wallets in general, obviously Phantom has been one of the leaders out there, but MetaMask is still a very active space. We're seeing a lot more interaction now with Web3 gaming in general. And when you look at the ecosystem of wallets and the ease of getting into the space, what's your opinion right now in terms of that technology? And has it been able to achieve more ease of use?
That's a great question. So yeah, I mean, we like to look at the sort of holistic flow of onboarding and keeping people in. And wallets is definitely one of the first things that people encounter in their sort of journey towards getting involved in the Web3 and the crypto space. And I think that, a lot of people will just sort of, pull the ripcord at that point. There's a lot of terminology and things that they don't understand. Yeah. They see log strings of numbers and hexadecimal, and they just don't know what it is. And the thing about Phantom actually that I think has really been resonating with people is just that, I mean, it looks so damn friendly, and you would think like, oh, okay, what does that matter? Because a lot of degens and geeks and wonks they don't really care. As long as they can get in and do their thing, then it doesn't matter. I mean, in fact, sometimes even the more archaic, the better for them, because it makes them kind of feel like they're in a club. But for the large majority of people, there really is something to be said for the visual harmony of a user experience. I mean, and it brings to mind. So you look at something like Phantom, and it has it's just so visually damn friendly. It has the very clean, bold, and uncluttered interface. It has very sort of friendly curves and lines and very approachable colors and things. And then another aspect, of course, for the Phantom is that it is multi-chain, so Solana and Ethereum. So the fact that it has all of these different currencies supported is certainly something that makes people more inclined to use it. So I mean, I think that the combination. Oh, and plus it has social elements baked in. I mean, it really does look like much more like a social app that you would use these days than some sort of Linux-based terminal program or something like that. So it's I think that the totality of the experience is definitely I think they got that one right.
Well, and I think the situation right now is just the immediacy that Phantom brings to a brand new crypto users. They're able to kind of get engaged pretty quickly. 7 million active users. This is back and probably closer to 10 million now. This was coming in from end of
Yep.
April. Phantom continues to grow here in terms of growth. I was looking at, the potential here also of just some of the games. When we look at the number of games that are being onboarded, I was looking at your site. You guys have a whole slew of new game developers and a lot of new game platforms in terms of the explosion of how players are starting to come to the market. Obviously, wallets make a big part of that. But I'm curious, when you look at
Right.
the developer side of it, are you seeing more and more activity coming over from the Web 2 space into Web 3 now more than ever? Or is it still more kind of culturally driven Web 3 devs that are building most of these games?
It's a mix. I think that there's absolutely the sort of hardcore studios that were founded with Web3 in mind. And then there is, of course, the sort of crypto Web3 curious. And they've been a little bit more tentative, but um, they, these things have a little bit of a latency to them. And so, as the market kind of goes up and down, then we will see waves wherein a company will decide to make a move into the space. Maybe it's a Web 2 company. They
Hmm.
will have made a decision some months ago, and then only recently will they actually have ramped up an internal team that's ready to actually start implementing this sort of thing. And at that time, they'll start contacting us. And so, despite the fact that you do hear people taking a little bit more of a wait and see stance, they're still out there, and they're still, we still take their calls. They're still absolutely interested, but I think that it's more as uh, a complement to
Right.
their primary core business, as opposed to just a wholesale replacement of.
Yeah, we're looking at a lot of interoperability right now. You look at this tweet right here. Futureverse is launching an open metaverse starting with Ready Player One, Roblox, and even Fortnite. So we're starting to see this interactivity of what was, Web 2 now becoming a little bit more Web 3 friendly. Obviously, we've seen projects start to launch within the Epic Game Store, all sorts of things. With all that being said, and with what you guys are doing, and you look at this interoperable future that is out there, what is your opinion, as a tech guy? Are you building for that? And are you seeing more and more games that are starting to build for that future?
So that's always been, the interoperability has always been sort of one of the North Stars, sort of the holy grail of the Web3 space, because it really speaks to part of the very, the core, decentralized ownership nature of it. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of, I think that it's always, like I said, been sort of a dream, but it comes down to a question of sort of standards and who just like a lot of things in the industry, like, file formats or single sign-on mechanisms, and this will sort of touch on, other stuff like, gamer IDs and things. It comes down to, what becomes the lingua franca for these different platforms, because you can't, one can't just wish itself into existence and declare itself you know, we are going to be interoperable and
Yeah.
everybody adopt us. It has to evolve organically. For example, like Unreal has a file format, UEFN, the Unreal Editor for Fortnite,
Hmm.
which has been gaining some traction as a standard. And so, that's the sort of thing which, if one developer starts to adopt it, then it will start the snowball effect.
Right.
Um, and sometimes these things can be sort of willed into existence by some big 800-pound gorilla like a Fortnite, but sometimes they sort of come out of nowhere. And so, for game developers to sort of work that into their ecosystem, they have to sort of be a little bit circumspect about which one they choose to invest their time and their tooling into. Obviously, you don't want to um, constrain other games by saying that this particular item has only this type of utility. So it's really up to each developer to decide how they want to honor that interoperable item, right? So once they
Right.
actually have decided to conform, then it's like, okay, maybe these shoes give you extra leap in a basketball game, but maybe they give you extra speed in in some sort of racing game. So, and that's really up to the individual developers. And I don't think that there's ever going to be, or it's going to be quite a while until there's a sort of Ready Player One style metaverse that has a uniform, is widely adopted and has a uniform set of universe rules. Then I have a hard time seeing the utility there being, carrying across, the interoperability realm.
Well, okay. So with
But yeah,
that,
I mean, it's certainly.
yeah, with that thought, I mean, because now you're kind of talking about the potential there. If you look at what Meta has been able to do in VR and what we'll see most likely in terms of advancements, what is your take right now on both on VR and or XR in general? When we look at extended reality and where we are today, especially with some of the devices that Meta's coming out with, we're seeing a lot more interaction now with other platforms and the potential for NFTs and or interoperability may be becoming to a real reality. Do you see that as a real future, at least in the near future, for how Web3 gaming could evolve?
I do. I think that so VR, VR and AR and XR, they've had a sort of a long and storied journey, of mainstream, broad adoption, right? What's the
Yeah,
killer app and things like that, and it's been, it's been a chicken and the egg sort of thing because people will only pour in resources to develop the applications if there's an install base, and people will only buy the hardware if there's things for them to do. And so, certain amount of that has been tied up in, surmounting certain technical
hmm,
hurdles like, field of view
sure,
and frame rate
yeah,
and, pixel density and things like that. Apple introduced their Vision Pro, and it's very high resolution and it's got all this great eye tracking, very expensive. And actually, recently they pulled back on their strategy a little bit. Instead of really leaning into that super high end device, they're pivoting a little bit towards the Meta direction, the Meta
right,
horizon. A lot of the VR technology is going to be empowered by a lot of the advances in AI. I think that some of the limitations in terms of the user experience
right,
will be dealt with whether it comes from sort of the deep learning, the DLSS, the super sampling that comes from this using AI to be able to get the images in faster to the device so that you get a better feel for it, or having a more expansive world. So I think that these technologies are going to sort of feed on each other. And so I think that to that end, we will be bootstrapping our way into this metaverse type of a world where we are wearing our headsets. And that, again, one of the reasons why VR and AR are so appealing to us people who are so excited about Web3 is because it really does represent a sort of a liberation. It's this whole nother world. You're out there and, you own your stuff and you're out exploring. And it's, it really speaks to that inner sort of adventurer, in
yeah.
the Web3 space. Yeah, I definitely see it moving up.
Andrew, do you see the I guess the implementation of AI tools being used much more frequently now in new upstart Web3 games as you guys start to see some of the games coming onto the Myria platform? Are you seeing more AI integration now, or is it just barely being touched?
Well, I mean, the space is moving so fast that there's a little bit of a lag. What I do see is that people are leveraging a lot of the you have these stable diffusion and these diffusion-based models, which are helping artists create collections of NFTs and things like that. And it's actually getting quite interesting. I was looking over a new workflow that involved Leonardo, and then also a tool which basically brings things into 3D. So in other words, not just
Okay.
having these, variations of tokens, but also, building, 3D models just from a 2D image, like you have a little creature, and then it brings it into 3D. It textures it, it skins it, it rigs it, and then you can have it up and running around. Web3 has a lot of because, and Myria, for example, we have our distributed nodes, and AI is extremely compute intensive, right? And
Right.
so I can absolutely envision a world in which these different node owners are actually operating compute, which is running these large, maybe multi-billion parameter models to do inference to figure out maybe training your own character. So, in other words, you would create your own character, mint it into an NFT, and then launch it out into the world to, combat other players, and also train it where, your character can go do battle and things like that. And it can also lead back into the utility of the nodes because, you're generating value by
Yeah.
providing this compute. So I think it all is intertwined in that way.
Well, that's a good evolution, I think, where Web3 is going. Could be that Web3 gaming could be the real center of that kind of innovation going forward. If we see, some good devs really kind of latch on to both AI's use case, but also the functionality of AI. So definitely one to watch. Last point I want to hit with you on is MiCA. In the EU, we've got the markets and crypto assets regulation happening. This is rolling out now. So we're going to start to see real use case of blockchain, stable coins, all sorts of NFT projects, you name it, is most likely going to start to deploy in the EU. This, of course, could have huge implications on new projects being developed, including gaming projects. What is your current opinion on how this will affect the gaming industry, Web3 gaming industry, in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. Europe seems to they're one of their sort of biggest Europe's sort of primary exports these days is regulation. And as you say, in 2 days, I think then sections 3 and 4 of the MiCA stablecoin standards go into effect. And the imprimatur of it lends legitimacy, which gives confidence to the space, and which
Yeah.
results in a very flourishing market. And then there's other people who worry that more regulation will stifle creativity and freedom in the marketplace. I actually happen to fall into the former category, so I look on it as a good thing.
Good. Well, Andrew, it's always good kind of picking your brain, learn a little bit more about where you guys are going. Thanks again for stopping in today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had a great time.
You bet. All right. So if you guys are maybe listening over on the podcast side of things, make sure and jump over here to the YouTube channel. This is the best place to get subscribed. And also you can join the Diamond Circle, which is our private group where we do a lot of additional content. And of course, you can always follow me out there on X at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.